welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be discussing how to water your succulent. This is an issue that I've noticed a lot of succulent owners are having because they're known to be a plant that is super easy to take care of and watering is never an issue. Contrary to popular belief, succulents can actually be quite difficult if you don't know what you're doing yet. A lot of people think that a spray bottle is best to water a succulent when they first start out, and this is really not true. Succulent leaves are hydrophobic, which spraying them will not help them get more water. The leaves don't collect any, and the water will sit on top and eventually cause a rot. Watering with a spray bottle will also not get far enough down into the soil. The roots will also not get enough water, resulting in an underwatered succulent. Personally, I recommend that you use a watering can or any bottle that has a thin tip at the end so that you can control where the water goes when you're watering a succulent. Now, if you are in the case where you have completely overwatered your plant, take the plant out of its pot, try to check to see if the roots are like a bright white or just general white, and if they are, then you're good. You don't have to worry, just let them dry out for a little while. But if the roots have turned black and mushy, you have root rot, and you want to remove as much of the rotted roots as possible. After that, make sure to let your plant sit out for a couple days until everything is back to normal. Usually, I let it sit for a day or two. In extreme cases, it could be 3 days to really help everything air out. Now, something you can do to avoid this is make sure that you use a proper soil. Some people are watering their plant the perfect amount of times. In summer, you're going to want to water it once a week. In winter, you're going to want to water it once every 2 or 3 weeks. However, if your soil retains too much water at once, this will automatically drive you down the wrong route. You're going to end up having an overwatered plant in the end, and that's not something that anybody wants. Personally, I use a Miracle-Gro substrate to help grow my succulents out. When it comes to checking to see if you have a healthy plant or not, you are going to want to find that your leaves of your plant are plump and that they're not kind of wrinkled or squishy. If they are wrinkled or squishy only at the bottom of the plant, this can mean that it's just getting off some old leaves so that your plant can grow upward and round out more. Now, if your whole entire plant is getting kind of squishy, wrinkled leaves, this can mean that it is overwatered. And again, you can use the tips that I said before to help kind of clear things up with that. However, if the leaves are wrinkled and kind of thin, that means your plant is underwatered, and you're going to want to give it a good soak to help get some water back going into it. Another thing that is super important is your zone. Some people don't know about this, but depending on where you live, you have different growing zones. I have a growing zone of 7A and 7B, but some plants do grow better in these areas than others. Some growing zones are more humid, some are more dry, and some are just kind of unpredictable. You just kind of have to find your own way to work with it. And for succulents, with my experience in my zone, they prefer an east or west facing window because that's what gets them the proper amount of sunlight without burning the leaves or drying out the soil too quick. That is another way that your plant can end up being underwatered. Now, my house, unfortunately, has a lot of north and south facing windows, which can cause a couple problems if you want to move your plants around. There's a couple solutions to this. Make sure that your plant isn't in direct contact with light. You don't want to scorch it to the point where it's dead, but you don't want to leave it completely out of the way either. Another alternative that you can do is, if you feel that your plant isn't getting the kind of light that it really needs, is that you can get a grow light. There are a couple really good ones on Amazon that can clip onto shelves. They have ones that come in stands, and they can range anywhere from $9 to $35. Those are the ones that I found to be pretty popular on there. Of course, there are going to be grow lights that are more expensive, but those are more like the industrial types. For the ones that are more at home, you're gonna find an average price range of about $15 to $20. My succulents that I'm currently working on as my little succulent project right now is I actually grow succulents from leaves that have fallen off of others. To people who have been growing succulents and taking care of them for a long time, you may already know this, but for new succulent owners, this can be something completely new that you've never heard of. When a succulent leaf falls off, if it is perfectly fine, there was nothing really unhealthy about it, and it fell off clean, you can grow a new plant. For me, what I do is I get a little container. You're gonna fill up the bottom with a little bit of water, and you're gonna put saran wrap over the top. Poke some holes into the saran wrap, and you could stick the leaves in those holes. And then over the course of a couple weeks to a month, you'll notice some growth. Now this can vary depending on the type of succulent you have. Some can grow better when they fall off and you just leave them on top to lay out in a thing of soil. Some grow better over water. It really depends. Once the roots get about an inch to 2 inches long, it is time to transfer to soil. If you leave it in there for too long, it's going to be very hard to switch over and your plant will most likely die. My plants are looking like this right now. You may be wondering why I have toothpicks inside. This is to check how dry my plant is or not, and then it will help gauge how much I need to water. Now you can look on Amazon and they do have some special tools that you can use to see if you need water or not, but this is the cheaper way for me and it works just fine. If you didn't notice, I use coffee pods for these little babies that I've been working on, and that's because they already have a filter and a drainage hole in them. This makes sure that they're not too overwatered. I can let everything soak out at the bottom to really get a good watering at once, and the dirt won't fall through the drainage hole. Honestly, it's a perfect size for a little baby succulent. Eventually, you will need to transfer these to a bigger pot, preferably something breathable. You can use terracotta, but you don't only have to use that. That's just personally what I recommend. In the end, watering your succulent is gonna have to be something that you really monitor because it's not gonna be the same for every single house. Some houses are more humid and some are drier, and some people prefer to grow theirs outside. It really depends on what you feel is best. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope my tips helped you out, and I will see you in another one.